back to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, Ars Technica figured out how many Steam machines exist. It's not a lot. And it's actually cool to like Payday again. That's right, they pulled off the ever-elusive reverse rectal cranial inversion.
Go forth and sell some drugs, children. Everyone's favorite open source engine brings its third game to Steam, and the Dolphin Emulator gets bounding box support and learns to DirectX 12 because it's the future, brah.
Valve has given the world at least 500,000 mistresses. It's about twice as kinky as it sounds. And AMD brings us the 480, not the GTX 480, the RX 480, which is basically a rebrand of the R9 390 with a lower TDP.
I'm Vince Stone here at LJC Actual, switching the bits, doing this nightmare fuel under the Linux sauce, as always, joined, not every week, but on special occasions, by the Leprechaun.
Very
Mr.
special occasions.
Bringing it all the way from Jersey, and all the way from Space Portugal, Pedro.
Why, hello there.
And together
I'm
with
in
Shatro
future.
joining us live, we form that special little bit known as Cocaine Voltron. Before we get started, we'd like to see what's going on in each other's life organs. I'm just going to start because I totally got sucked into this last night, and I've been kind of putting it off, but I was like, I need a Distractotron before bed. It's like, all right, Series 3, Penny Dreadful, and I'd kind of watched the first episode, and I was like, meh. I watched the second one, by the end of the second one, the way it ended, and I was like, oh my god! And then I watched the third one, I was like, stop, Ben, you have to get up at fucking 5 o'clock in the morning. Good show. I highly recommend it. It's on Showtime, I think, and on Sky. So, what's up, P-Man?
Really? Not much. I've been going to interviews, still going to interviews, as many, companies as I can possibly send my resume to, I will. And yeah, Friday alone, I had 2 interviews, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. That was a bit tough.
So, what's up, T-Baby?
Let's see. I got my 8 terabyte media server up running Plex this week. I'm all psyched. I've been watching a lot of legitimately ripped from DVD movies and generally taking it easy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's something that gets ripped every week, and that's the horse, because it's time for our Steam
Linux
Update of the week.
All right, that was
That's
busted
by
as
far the worst
ever,
ever.
but all right. Yeah.
That's the usual spiel.
Oh,
So,
God.
Valve has sold over 500,000 Steam controllers. I know. Big thanks to Lockdown for kicking over the wet stinky caches so I could fondle my mistress. Yeah. Yeah, they 500,000 Steam controllers are now in the hands of people who looked at the design and went, I want to try some of that. And that number would be considerably higher if Valve would get off their ass and stop ignoring physical retailers basically everywhere outside North America.
No, Pedro, I'm going to have to stop you there. You misenunciated saving money by not having to create an international distribution network.
That too.
Wait a minute. There are stores outside of the USA?
I know, right?
Never heard of it.
Insanity.
I don't know. This is just proof, though, that if you build a good product that scratches an itch and fills a niche, people will buy it. And speaking of people buying Valve hardware,
Oh, right. 500 up, 500 down. 7 months later, Valve Steam machines, they kind of look dead in the water. And you're like, well, how do you know this, Vin? This can't be a thing. Valve is secretly held and very close to the chest organ about how many Steam boxes are actually sold or actually out there and all that. They did a very clever girl type of thing, because I was like, how did they calculate this number, Ars Technica? How did you do it? And, well, they said, well, Valve kind of said, every Steam box shipped with an Areola controller. And they're like, ding. So, we know they've sold 500,000 controllers. You can kind of do some math on that. I'm pretty sure every one of those didn't come with a Steam machine, Pedro.
No, they didn't. They actually say so in the article. It's they did some speculation considering on how many people may or may not have bought the most common offerings, which were these cyber machines. If you take into account those discounts that they had for a long, long time. But yeah, I like the only problem I have with this article, and it's not the fact of whether or not the Steam machines are dead in the water on release, because they were. I'm not arguing that. I just want to point out that they condescendingly brought up the reason as to why Valve started SteamOS and the Steam machines, but seem to forget that the Universal Windows platform and Universal Windows apps are a thing, because they say that... let's see if I can find it. There it is. The idea looked a bit like a solution in search of a problem, predicated on the belief that if Microsoft would start exercising monolithic control of the Windows software marketplace any day now. They have. And also, they wrap up the article by saying that right now it seems more likely that Valve's first big hardware push will continue to languish in relative market obscurity. And no, that wasn't the bit. No, it was just before that they mentioned that some of the ports have really poor performance. And this isn't me defending Valve by any stretch of the concept. Just stop blaming platforms for shitty ports.
Well, we're going to get into Vulkan. OpenGL and kind of the way some of the games are being ported right now, maybe not ideal, but I want to throw this to you, Empty, because I personally think it's 100% on Valve for not throwing its weight behind this. We were talking before the show started. And I was like, well, they sold a lot of Steam controllers. I was like, they made Steam controllers. They didn't make Steam Box. And here's what I'm worried about, because I'm like, good luck trying to get manufacturers to have another go at this. What do you think?
Well, I think in their defense, the hardware is not all that custom. It's a little bit custom for the Steam machines. So it's not like Alienware is out a ton of money for having made these things. I think what they really need to do is get the prices down and get SteamOS out of beta. We're on version 2.8 and it's still in beta. Come on, guys.
Yeah, they keep pointing their fingers at Valve for games underperforming on SteamOS. Why would you do that? I don't remember any of these websites actually blaming Microsoft for the shitty Dark Souls port in 2011. They didn't. Why? Because it wasn't Microsoft's fault.
Oh, Pedro.
All right.
Speaking of bad
I will not let it go, because you may remember a while back we got a Linux port of Dead Island, which, in accordance to the previous Ars Technica article, yeah, it had a very, 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 very poor performance. But they've released the definitive collection, which includes Dead Island, Retro Revenge. That one is not available for Linux. And Dead Island Definitive Edition and Dead Island Riptide Definitive Edition. Now, these last two do have Linux support, and it's amazing. If you already have either Dead Island or Dead Island Riptide, you can get the definitive editions of those games at like 85% off. It's like $3. So I actually forked the €3 for it, and the initial load is still single threadsville, but the moment you get into game proper, it hums on all cores. On my FX 8370E, it was using about 50 to 70% on all 8, to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go check how the GPU utilization is doing. Open up NVIDIA settings, hit the 970 tab, 100% GPU utilization, and around 70% video memory usage. I guess they finally took some of the criticism on board and decided to address it. And it's also a very strange world we live in, when I was genuinely happy to see the 970 being the bottleneck for once. Also, there is a big reasonably big issue with this game, which is the multiplayer, at least on Linux, isn't working. It boots you the moment you join someone else. I was, thanks to Lockdown for bringing it to my attention, because we were trying to connect to one another. And the moment we connected to another's game, we would immediately get booted. And on his end, it was even worse because his game would lock up. I didn't have that.
Yeah, actually, Pedro was streaming some earlier on Twitch, and I, threw it up on the TV while I was puttering around doing other stuff. And kind of caught my attention. I don't know if it was $20 worth of attention, but then I thought about it for a second and said, wait a minute, there was a humble deep silver bundle way back. And I don't think I ever actually bothered installing Dead Island because it was so bad. Sure enough, there the key was. I put that thing in there, spent my $3. Best $3 I've spent on Steam in a long time. If you have the original one, pay the $3, get the upgrade. You won't regret it. On the 780 Ti, I was doing about 25 to 30 frames per second in UHD on 11. And once I kicked it down to 1080p, it was a solid 60, basically, no matter what. I like this port. They need to do more ports like this. These are good.
Empty, I got a very important question to ask you.
Yes, Ven. What is your very important question?
As we wait for our satellite delay, what's going on?
Yeah, so here we have Polynomial 2, a.k.a. Epilepsy Inducer 2.
Oh my God, the colors. Tell me about it. What is it? Never heard of it.
It looks like a bullet hell type of game where you fly around in space and things flash and explode and there's colors everywhere.
That's a very apt description. That's about what I thought of Polynomial 1. It's like a bunch of neon everywhere, and I have no idea what's going on.
It isn't early access. What do they say? Enter an endless universe of stars, glowing fractal nebulae, and animate your music.
Yeah, I would totally have not thought anything of this game either, except that as I was reading through the description, it mentioned that it can use your own music, which is key in any sort of music-based rhythm-type game, which I assume this has some aspect of. And it can do live beat detection on any sort of stream in through your microphone port, which is also fairly cool. So probably won't pick this up while it's still in early access, but I am curious to see how it shapes up.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a thing. I mean, it's kind of steep. Then 10% off. They want regularly 11.99 wet stinky caches for this. And if you've been playing the Linux gamings for the long time, since the long ago, you might remember the original Polynomial. I think it was free sauce. And I remember like floating around shooting things and go boop and like that. I was like, man, I still wish I was on the drugs. But I mean, it was still kind of neat. Still, watching this trailer brought back those traumatic memories of like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. P-Man, do you get any thoughts?
No, yeah, I had the exact same experience. Ooh, look, pretty neon colors, and I'm flying around in what I assume is space. What am I doing again? What's my objective? Oh, you're not telling me. Okay.
Well, good news, ladies and gentlemen. GOG created a Linux. I'm just fucking with it. They didn't make a Linux client.
No,
what they did. What they did is allowed you to connect your Steam and GOG accounts together so you can, well, with the 20 games, I think 21 games that they currently have, 22 titles, all right. Yeah, fuck the Linux client, right? And without that non-existent Linux client, I'm having a hard time finding a use case for this. So basically, if you have some games on Steam that are available on GOG, you can get the DRM free versions and
for some specific games,
maybe on a Tuesday.
Yes, for a limited time only on specific games, as agreed between GOG and the publisher. So I guess the idea here is you're supposed to keep coming back and keep rechecking to see.
We're still relevant, you guys, even if we have to give away a ton of games to do it.
Right. Please give us traffic.
I don't know, man. I mean, I was like, well, if I had a client that I could just like launch like I do Steam instead of going to your web zone and download a game and put it in a games folder, how archaic is that, Pedro?
I mean, I have the let's see, my Steam account has 657 games, 460 of which are available for Linux.
Mm-hmm.
This connection thing gave me 9 games on GOG. Thanks, guys.
Well, this looks amazing, but Empty, have you ever played Linux games on weed?
Never, ever. But in the dope game, you can sell to other people. I basically, the downfall of my education began.
We got a sign of quality. Mouse cursor in the video. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, this is not a game that would have, grabbed my attention had it not been for the splash screen at the beginning that said Godot. As far as I can tell, this is the third Godot game available on Steam, and it's your classic dope wars, drug wars type game. Buy low, sell high, travel around. This one's not even set in New York City. It's set in some like random Townsville. It's got some fairly nice hand-drawn graphics. It's missing a lot of the convenience features, like where it reminds you what price you paid for stuff. But basically, my TI-85 calculator back in high school physics class had a better version of the core mechanics than this does. But for $3, you get to support some developers that are using Godot to make a commercial product. I think that's pretty fair.
I don't know, man. I mean, I looked at it and I was like, yeah, it's not drug wars, Pedro.
Yeah, no, it's I like the hand-drawn art style is it's a way to keep the price down, I suppose. That or
there's not too much of it either. It is all recycled fairly quickly as you are playing through. But at the same time, I respect the devs for what they're trying to do here, and I hope they keep adding features because it needs a few still.
Yeah. So, tell us about what's going on in Arcady lands.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we've got Moto Arcade Dash. Basically, I immediately was reminded of Temple Run, but without the 90-degree corners. Seems like kind of a speed along and dodge left and right to stay out of the way and crash into stuff. I don't know.
Hey, man.
It looks like it could be fun for about 3 minutes.
And for, normally £3, now only £2. And
Two, yeah.
When you first look at this, you're thinking when I was like, oh, this looks like an absolute shite Android put ding, 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 available on the Google Play Store. Remember, kids, when you see this, if you're playing at home, when you see the words partial controller support, that's almost 100% a dead giveaway of a developer saying in code, I don't know how to Unity, brah, so don't expect controller support to work at all. Pedro, do you have any thoughts on this?
I guess I just have to commend them on not pricing the Steam version of the game at like $10 when the Android version is
clicking export's
$3.
Expensive, son.
Yeah, because they actually have the exact same price on Steam as they do on Android, so good on them. Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to play something that the buttons are going to be laid out for a touch device with your keyboard and dribble and hate yourself in the morning, give it a look. But set sail.
No, that's racist, Ben. Well, that's not exactly racist, but Black Sea Odyssey certainly sounds like it. And the moment I started reading the description, I'm like, Black Sea Odyssey, a violent top-down roguelite space shoot-'em-up RPG. Okay, one more genre, and you get to buy size Snickers. Yep, we actually covered this because they had a Kickstarter campaign not too long ago, and they actually had a semi-working Linux demo. I mean, it started technically. It had some control issues, and they have a new and improved demo which you can actually try for free from your Steam client. So definitely give that demo a try before you fork over the monies for this game. Yeah.
I don't have anything to add to that. So let's move on to something that kind of looks like, wow, a new Unity asset pack, I'm guessing. Maybe?
Probably.
I don't know. Maybe it's original. Maybe it's not. Sub Rosa's a multiplayer first-person shooter about tense details, double crosses. Yeah, that's totally fucking an asset flip, probably. Multiplayer early access coming soon. Wow, one more and you do get that bite-sized Snickers.
No. The most interesting bit about this is minimum requirements. Processor Passmark CPU 1000
or better.
Well, who the hell's Passmark? And
you do have
listen,
you have to have the matching Passmark GPU 200 or better with OpenGL 2.0 and only 10 megabytes of storage space. Empty. I don't know how we could ever possibly come up with this.
Brave.
I don't know. I think Grand Theft Auto 5 has a new competitor here.
I don't know. Well, we've had strange days on Linux gaming for the past year or two. But yeah, Square Enix has actually brought its first actual game to Linux not too long ago, courtesy of Feral. It was Tomb Raider. And now, Life is Strange is getting a Mac port, which I'm guessing it's already been released on the Mac App Store. At least Feral confirmed that it was. But judging by the fully laid out Linux depots on Steam and the fact that I think Feral actually confirmed it in some website.
Oh, yeah. Like, we're definitely making a Mac port. I'm ignore those Linux depots.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here, people.
I just hope at this point, because Life is Strange is one of those games that I personally don't really care much for what I've seen of the game so far. But I really want that genre to also have a presence on Linux, and I really just hope that Feral gets in touch with Techland and asks them how they did the Definitive Edition ports, because I want more of those ports.
You have any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm glad to see Feral's pumping out the games these days. I kind of question their selection sometimes, but this one's anything like F1, it shouldn't be half bad.
Hey, man, sounds like a man that's still in pain.
And in some more Steam database news, we have Hard Reset Reader. So this is a much less confirmed port than Strange Days, but the if you look there under OS, it actually says Linux. And at first I said, that's probably a mistake that they just, it slipped into the repo somehow and it doesn't mean anything. Until I realized that this game also uses the Roadhog engine, which was so successfully ported for Shadow Warrior.
All right.
Thus making it
a bit of a stretch. Shadow Warrior has a nasty habit of hardlocking the box and every now and then.
Yep.
I've never experienced that, and it does run really nice. And having played Hard Redux on my friend's computer, it's a pretty cool game. I'm psyched for some more like arena shooter type things to come to Linux. And this is all pure conjecture. Yeah. There is no proof at all at this point, but I want some Painkiller Warrior.
Yeah, it would be nice to finally get a decent Painkiller game on Linux. The original Hard Reset came out in 2010, 12?
Yeah, something like that. It's a couple years old at this point.
Yeah, so the original game had some issues. A lot of people were complaining that like movement speed was far too slow for the type of shooter that it was. It was like MTRA to describe. It was basically Painkiller with a really, really slow pace. They've actually fixed that.
And a cyberpunk kind of setting instead of being all gothic and horror-based.
Yeah, but they've actually kind of fixed that. So it would be nice if Aaron, a.k.a. Knockout Games, would port... Hard Reset to
one
Linux.
thing that is not hard, it's thanking our Patreons, the beautiful people that make this show possible. It is awesome. Currently at 81 Patreons.
81.
136 wet sticky caches. That means we're back in the running. Woo-hoo. For Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays. It's back, baby. And that's definitely an awesome thing. I do want to thank Jill and Steve. They kicked in, they upped, and Craig H. kicked in, brought us back up to Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays levels, and that is a show made by Patreon. It's just amazing, the outpouring of support, generosity. If you do that, like, hey, if you dig through your couch organ, you can find some change, maybe 5, 10, maybe a quarter a week, $1 a month. Throw some change. That adds up. That helps. Plus, this is not a begathon. You're going to get some cool stuff in return, because And Pedro, we recorded something last night.
Yes, we did.
For our
And you're
Patreons.
going to want to see that one. Because at one point, everything went wrong. It's like everything that could possibly go
It is
wrong.
effectively
went wrong.
30 minutes of nightmare fuel and our friendship breaking down on screen in real time and watching us go through the stages of anger, agony, acceptance. Right. And stuff like that you will get access to, 5 cents and above on the Patreons. It's not locked behind a paywall. It will eventually come out for everyone for free, so don't feel like we're doing anything like that. But yeah, go check it out. Patreon.com/LinuxGameCast. Kick us a few quid. Keep the show going and keep the ads off the show. Don't make me read ads. I have to do that for a living. It sucks. But what's up next, Jordan? Damn it. Almost got through the show.
Yeah. Take a shot every time Ven calls either me or MT Jordan during the duration of this podcast.
Shut up, Jordan.
So yeah, up next we have some news, and in true LGC tradition, we get on with some drivers. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's the news! Yep, and as I mentioned, we're starting off with some drivers. It's AMD GPU Pro Beta is now available for Ubuntu 16.04. Yep, don't worry, you'll be able to find a link to it on the show notes. It enables Vulkan for the Tonga and Fiji series cards.
All right.
That's
I'm just going to stop you right here. I mean, highlights include VDPAU. What?
Yes, that's it's AMD we're talking about, but it's not the highlights that I want to bring up. It's actually limitations, known limitations, and here we go. Current driver is only validated for the products on the AMD product compatibility table, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, whole 7 of them. And then they say multi-GPU features are not supported. Good on you, AMD. Only basic display and power features are enabled and validated. Huh? Render 1.4 features are not validated. Huh? OpenCL features are not fully validated. AMD, OpenCL is the only thing you have going for you at this point. What are you doing?
Hey, man. They're trying, okay?
It's all on the community at this point to sort out these issues for them.
Yeah, that's what GPU Open is, right? What's that? Nvidia is releasing GameWorks and actually working with game developers in order to integrate those features into their games. How should we like do the same thing? Don't be silly.
No.
Just release the source code and let them figure it out.
Pedro, do you know why it really genuinely, in my non-existent cold black heart, upsets me that the drivers from AMD, formerly ATI, damn you, ATI, are not up to snuff with their proprietary drivers are not up to snuff with Nvidia. Do you know why that really grinds my gears?
We have no competition?
No, because AMD released a really cool piece of kit at a good price.
Oh, that's a stretch. They announced the AMD Radeon RX 480 at $200. That's Mr. Raja Kaduri.
All right. How much does a 390 cost right now?
The 390 goes for around
like $100 more.
Yeah. No, it's not 200. It's like 100 and something at most. But yeah, it's the article is saying it's an article from PC Gamer is saying that Nvidia is shooting for the high end with Pascal and whatnot. Pascal, even the 1070 is just a teeny tiny bit faster than the Titan X, and that was the performance leader of the previous generation. But yeah, the RX 480 is the first announced Polaris video card, and it's got moderate specs, as it were. It's compared to the R9 390, which I'm just going to assume that this is a rebrand of the R9 390 with some stuff disabled in a lower TDP.
It's kind of weird when you look at it because, on Windows, this has been compared to, on Windows again, unfortunately, which, whatever that thing is. The 480 we don't know for certain, but they're claiming parity with your 970.
Yeah, and the 390 and the 390X both have performance. The 390X is actually slightly above the 970 on Windows. But thing is, we're a Linux podcast, and AMD's track record when it comes to Linux is bad. And this one, if the current performance of the R9 390 is anything to go for, this one is going to suck. Yes, it is.
No, don't worry about it, man. I mean, the drivers will eventually, soon you'll be able to install like a 2.5 kernel, and that'll work as long as you have the GIMP help files installed.
Yes, you need
We're not
the
joking
GIMP
about
help
that.
files.
Yes, you actually do need that installed. Fucking AMD on this one. I love AMD, by the way. But that's what I was saying about the drivers. I mean, this just burns the piss out of me, because you could effectively get, I mean, if we had parity performance like Nvidia does with the binary blob drivers, we would have a card as fast as a 970.
Yep,
for 100
for 200
stinking cashes.
$200, and yeah, the price is really low, but you still have to deal with their drivers, and this is more to answer or preemptively answer all of the RX80 threads, which will inevitably pop up on all the social medias and the subreddits. And at this point, AMD has absolutely nothing to go up against the 1080 in terms of performance when it comes to Linux.
Well,
they don't.
I mean, you know, when I saw this, I immediately thought, you know, I was reading through the article. Who'd that come from?
PC Gamer.
Okay. And to quote them, it says AMD is going after the mainstream market, which I think maybe is a half truth, because I believe the other side of that argument was, you know, the eyes followed by, you know, we didn't know Pascal was going to be that fucking fast. Fuck. And somebody screamed, you know, quick, rebrand the 390 and call it a 480.
That's the thing. It's AMD at this point. They've started just rebranding stuff since the 7000 series. They've been basically
in all
rebranding.
fairness, I mean, it is a new architecture, has lower TDP.
Yes.
So, you know, maybe they're going to be able to ramp it up HBM. They got the memory thing going on. That's neat.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think they have HBM2 on this one, because according to the table on the article, it says that the memory bandwidth is 256 gigabytes per second. That's right about on par with a GTX 1070. But that's just memory bandwidth. It only has 36 compute units when you compare it to the R9 390 proper, which has 40. And the memory, the VRAM speed in MTs per second, whatever that means, is slightly higher than the R9 390, so they may be using some type of HBM, but it's considerably slower than the Fiji cards, because both the R8, the R9 Nano, they have R8 in that table there, that's wrong, and the R9 Fury X have 512 gigabytes per second memory bandwidth.
Well,
this is
I do want to recruit Scott McCode, resident PC per Canadian. He says, all right, it won't be using HBM on this. It's a GDDR5 Yellow Swag Dorito. But, let's talk about some...
Ooh! Since we mentioned Scott.
For the PC per GeForce GTX 1070. 7.5 gigabyte Founder Edition. I mean... Flanders edition review. Yeah, it's a thing. It's out. We were talking to you the last week before. It was like, you know, the reasons they haven't released benchmarks for this, because they want everyone to pre-order the 1080. Why? Well, think about it. Really? Buy me some time while I'm looking for this.
Okay, so it's
I already found it. You're too late. Okay. So this is something we can kind of compare to. This is Unengine Haven 4.0, and they're comparing this to 1070 against what I know about
3D Mark. You're looking at the 3D Mark graphics.
Damn it.
There
it is.
For audio listeners, that made no sense. Anyway, I was in the middle of talking. The 1070 8 gigabyte version is getting about 70.3 FERPs on the Windows, and my 980 is getting 48.8. So, yeah, 2514 Ultra. So we're still looking at 70.3 versus 48.8. Empty, as a person, actually, is your 780 faster than Pedro's?
Yep.
970?
They're very close. The 780 Ti does edge out the 970 ever so slightly. Basically keeps up with the 980, except for in certain cases.
Yeah, and that's mostly because of the memory bus. The 780 Ti has a 384-bit memory bus, while the 970 only has a 256-bit one. Yeah. But yeah, the 1070 is amazing. Just looking at the graphs, and Ryan did some tests with Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is using a very similar engine to the Tomb Raider we currently have on Linux, so that should give you some manner of comparison if you take into account the feral port tax in performance. It's for 300, assuming we will actually see one of the AIB partners release a 1070 at those $370 or 380, whatever.
Pedro, you don't have to worry about it. It's not like Nvidia released drivers for the 1080 and 1070.
Yeah, they released drivers for the 1080 2 days after we mentioned the fact that their previous beta drivers didn't have them. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Two days before the hardware was on general release. Yeah, I don't know. Personally, I'm waiting for the 1080 Ti to upgrade to go with my i7 9650X when I upgrade that too.
I don't know, man. I mean, personally, I'm going, especially with the upcoming Vulkan, it's like, but what about DX Pro? And I was like, that's cute. It's going to run on Windows Phone. Oh, wait, no. Xbox One. Oh, right. Nobody bought that either. Windows 10. Oh, nobody wants to download. I mean, Windows 7. Right. That's your target market for DX12. That's brilliant. I'm waiting on Vulkan, because we've already seen, like in Serious Sam and Dota, what Vulkan is capable of, and I'm like I said, I'm going to ride this in 980.
The Telos principle.
Well, same difference.
Yeah,
Serious engine.
yeah, and Vulkan really is the way to go, and Nvidia have been on the ball with Vulkan since day zero for the most part. So yeah, I can only dream to see.
Hang on, Scott, this is the brilliant thing about Vulkan. That's why a lot of developers are actually looking into Vulkan, because they don't have to worry about the
DX12
bullshittery of DX12. Like, I can't work on Windows 7. Why? Raisins, Brad. But Vulkan, guess what? Microsoft. You can get feature parity without Microsoft bullshit and support all the people that are like, fuck Windows 8 and Windows 10 and stereo. But Unreal 4.12, it is out. And it's all in your face. And the only thing I really care about, I'm scrolling. What am I looking for?
That's there it is. Page.
You are looking for the VR editor.
Lightsaber editing is now enabled, and you can do it. You can grab your lightsabers. You can grab your Vives. Unless you bought an Oculus Rift, then you're stuck with an Xbox One controller.
Have fun with that.
And do cool stuff. We're not going to call this open source. We have to call it, I think the crumblent word is source available. It is out there. It continues being awesome. Last week, I did take another peek at Unreal, the game that they're working on, Unreal 4, whatever they want to call it. Build that with the engine. Engine's getting a lot easier to build and a lot less spite and OP under Linux. Running a lot better. Pedro, do you got any thoughts on this?
Not really. I mean, not until we get some manner of VR under Linux, which we don't. Thanks, Val. We appreciate that.
Hey, Vibe Boy.
Yeah, they keep dropping the Steam VR updates on the Linux Steam, and they all don't do anything. So thank you, Valve. I appreciate that. Appreciate that very much.
That's not all Doom.
Yeah, it is, because we're talking about Doom 64 EX. Yep, there's a new version out. This, if you've never heard of Doom 64...
Magical unicorn word.
SDL2, yes. It actually supports it. This is one of the new things with the new version. They finally released a new version. The head developer has been busy with other projects, including Turok 2 EX. And yeah, this is the open source recreation of the Doom 64 game, the one for the Nintendo 64, based on the original Doom engine sauce. So it Tech 1, yeah. This, like I mentioned, this new version came a bit late because the maintainer is working on a whole lot of different projects, and he actually has intentions of bringing Doom 64 EX into the new engine that he's been working on. If he gets the time, he doesn't promise anything. It may have been late on arrival, but it's certainly not lacking. It's got SDL2 support. It has 64-bit support for Linux now, finally, and also Windows.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, Doom 64 is a bit of a controversy among some people. We were talking about this again, another thing before we started recording, because it is that special unicorn of a Doom game that showed up on the 64 that wasn't really a Doom game, Empty.
Yeah, it kind of had a lot more in common with Quake than Doom. It had the full 3D polygonal thing going on, and it's the odd child of the Doom franchise. And speaking of Doom, Wine,
yes,
making progress towards getting new
It's
Doom.
happening, Ron Paul GIF.
Making progress. They're not there yet. It very clearly states that this doesn't mean that the whole DRM shebang that they added in is cracked just yet. But we are on the path to it. And if there is one game that I have complete faith in the Wine community getting to run on Linux, it is Doom.
Now, before Pedro gets started, I want to ask Pedro a question. I mean, isn't this a genuine case of, like, this is DRM contributes to piracy? Because, as we all know, the chairs allow us, in our Linux lifetime, 5 heretic purchases to play upon the wines. And a lot of people are willing to blow one of those willingly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if the DRM's cracked or whatever. I don't care until...
Well, the DRM isn't exactly cracked. This is just a...
Yet.
Yeah, yet. This is just one of those things that Wine still didn't support that the DRM relies on. One of those memory addressing shits that Windows does. This actually introduces the initial support required for the DRM to at least acknowledge that information is there and it knows what to do with it. But like they mentioned, it might not yet work. But yeah, it's not exactly a crack. They haven't actually gone in and done like the that guy that made the Revive hack for the Oculus, which basically just noped the Oculus DRM. Is like, I didn't want to do this, but you're not giving me a choice. So, blam, it's gone. But yeah, I would be one of those people that wouldn't mind blowing a heretic purchase on Doom, except I'm on full fuck Bethesda mode right now. This is interesting. It's always great to see more stuff coming to Wine and actually allowing more Windows applications to run under Linux. That's amazing. But I'd rather have some way of toggling whether or not Windows applications see the data execution prevention as enabled or disabled in the staging tab. I know this is possible to do because I've been patching Wine versions since 1.5, so I could get some APB reloadeds in every now and again. So I would very much like that in there, and that's actually one of those specific bits that also influences a lot of the RM. I'd like that.
Just remember, Linux gamers have no issue paying for it. That's right, Payday 3 confirmed what the hell?
Microtransactions. Show title.
Yes. Microtransactions eliminated as Starbreeze buys franchise rights for 30 million wet sticky caches. Well, we have Payday 2 on Linux, and turns out it was actually a good point. It didn't have much issues with it whatsoever. Performance was good. Unfortunately, by the time we received it, they had introduced the Vault drops. It was like, buy drills, and you don't know what you're going to get, and the entire community was like, fuck you, in stereo. But, this new team, they got the rights to it, and they're going to attempt to fuck it. But I kind of think the time for that has passed, Empty. Do you still think there's any goodwill? Do you think this will reignite the will of like, okay, everything's cool, guys, come back?
Well, it's not Overkill. Overkill burned everyone on all platforms when they started out saying Payday 2 will never have microtransactions. And then we're like, oh, wait, we want money.
The Oculus Rift will be $399. Wait, I'm sorry, different company.
This is a new developer, new publisher. We'll see. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt at first. We'll see if they burn us again. And I'll believe it when I see it.
The previous one didn't really burn us. I was the most critical of Payday 2, and really my criticism was mostly based on the fact that everywhere you looked, look at the top right of the screen, ad for DLC. Look at the bottom left of the screen, ad for DLC. Look right in the middle of the screen. Oh, hey, you guessed it. An ad.
Or how about when you go into your equipment screen and you want to equip a shotgun and it's like, no, you have to have
gotta buy the DLC.
The most
friendly fire
adorable
pack
thing is when we recorded the Payday 2 thing outside of Empty not dropping a withering bag was when I told everyone about, oh yeah, you can go into the shop and change all your, then everyone just like disappeared into their shop on the screen for 30 minutes while I was sitting here going, come on. But, Need for Speed, man. Do you have the Need for Speed?
I do. I have a soft spot in my heart for Need for Speed, and I also have a soft spot for open source engine reimplementations, which they've cooked up here.
Now, I'm going to stop you right
32-bit
there.
Only. It's got some
Yasim tells me they reverse engineered this shit from bytecode, son.
Got some non-portable 32-bit assembly cooked in there. And instead of having a reasonable build system, they have a bash script, which assumes library positions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go into this bash script, you can hack it to point to the right directories, and the thing will build. I have not actually had time to drop my legally purchased data files into the directory and test it out, but I love open source reimplementations of any old game that is no longer getting updates.
I had NASM, like a real human being, installed, but I installed Yasim.
They don't coexist very well, do they?
No. DIL, well, YIL. I don't have the game, but I just want to see if I could get the binary compiled, and this box doesn't like building because this is only going to build 32-bit libs, and I was like, you know what, I'm not having it. Then I was like, you know what, box, I don't care either, so we're even.
Yeah, it built fine on my end. I'm guessing they tested this on some distro which kind of sort of has proper multi-lib support. We were actually talking about this last night while we were playing Trine. Ubuntu is great. It is, as a distribution, it's amazing, but it doesn't have proper multi-lib support. It can do it if you try hard enough, and if you sacrifice a goat every full moon, it might be able to keep on doing it.
What was that other re-implementation, that like mini RC racing game that didn't have a 64-bit build? Remember, you played the fuck out of it.
Oh, Revolt. Yeah. I'm guessing it's similar because they also, the RVGL, they also used a disassembler on the Windows EXE and then just pulled out all the code.
Oversimplify that, they're like, fuck off, it works.
Yeah, basically. They pulled out everything they could. They wrote, I think it was C++. I wrote the code again in C++ and compiled it. And you can actually play Revolt with RVGL on Windows, Mac, Linux, what have you. But yeah, on my end, it built fine, but I don't have this game. I couldn't find it for sale anywhere, not on GOG, not on any
of my vintage. Remember when those graphics were like, man, it's never going to get better than this, bro. Rocking our 3D FXs.
Whoa, reality. Oh my God. Whoa.
Yeah, I played a lot of Sega Rally back on the Saturn. I remember those graphics. But yeah. So, MT, I know you're a leprechaun, but let's talk about dolphins.
Yes, everyone's favorite
Everyone knows
GameCube
that
and
the
Wii
only
emulator.
natural predator of a dolphin is a leprechaun, man. Come on.
Yes.
Exactly. It's he's just aggressive. It's not a big deal. So bunch of changes, dithering support, a myriad of compatibility improvements. But the big one here is that they re-implemented bounding box support in DirectX 12, and in the process just totally chucked their OpenGL render of it and re-implemented using a much faster code path. This gets a bunch of different games like Paper Mario and I forget what else off the top of my head, working at, real frame rates instead of 2 frames per second, if you were lucky. My curiosity here, though, is they could bother with DirectX 12, but they can't bother with Vulkan?
That was exactly my question. I mean, for a project of this magnitude, and Dolphin's been around for a long ass time, why are they pouring time and resources into the DirectX 12, which would be much better served on Vulkan? Because Vulkan supports more than one operating system.
Because DX12, bro, yellow swag Dorito.
DirectX 12 is the future. It's the future, man.
All right, that's going to do it for the news. Coming up next, we're going to ounce, and we're going to wob, and we might even rock the fuck out.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Jordan's not here tonight, so you're stuck with me. Ha! Sucks to be you. Yep, we're throwing shares at Melody's Escape. It is a rhythm-based game developed by Ice-Teasy SPRL. I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing that, but whatever.
Do you mean water tea?
Ice-Teasy. I don't know. Yeah, it was originally an XNA game, but they used FNA to bring it to Linux. It's priced at around 9 of your local wet sticky currencies. It's €9, $10, or 11 Canadian bucks. Yep. The great up north is still not doing too well on that economy. But what's that? It's a run, jump, and slide to the rhythm of your own music library. In Melody's Escape, advanced audio detection algorithms, yeah, we'll get into those, transcribe the energy that you feel when listening to music into a synchronized, no it isn't, gameplay experience with a captivating and dynamic obstacle course. Now, mandated US disclosure, they did send us keys for this game, so FCC, please don't shut us down. So, how do we rate these games? We usually submit them to the CHAIRQUISITION. 1 chairs means it's terrible, 2 chairs means that it's kind of meh, 3 chairs means it's a definite check it out, and 4 chairs means you shut up and you take my money right now with no lube. And we have the categories of Doom, mixed with the working, shiny and sounds, controls, and fun. So Ven, did it make with the working?
Over here on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS 980 powered 4K displayed box of the business right in your face organ. Well, how did it run? I didn't get around to trying it at UHD 3840 by 2160 because, pro tip, this is what I thought initially. I was rendering Linux Weekly Daily Wednesday. Go check that out. Patreons. You're awesome. And it just hard locked the box. And I was like, that's not good. That's going to take extra time. So then I rendered the show and I was like, then I want to go back and played it again. Guess what? Hardened up the box again. And then it did it a 3rd time. Yeah. 3 hard nopes in a total playtime of 32 minutes. Now, granted, I was not running the recommended glibc fucking OS. Okay. I couldn't find it. I went to distrowatch.com. It was not there. So that could have been an issue. I did go to the discussion forums on Steam's, and people have seemed with compiz and other issues like hangs, 5-second, 8-second, 10-second hangs. My hang couldn't even SSH back into my damn box. So, 1 chair.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, had no problems with it whatsoever. I switched resolutions, I full screened, I ran it in a window. It did everything perfectly. 4 chairs.
Yep. I think Ven was the outlier on this one because on my end with the FX 8370E and the GTX 970 Strix on Fedora 2364-bit, I had absolutely no issues with the game, like whatsoever. So 4 chairs. And that rounds up the total to 3.
Whoops.
Chairs on makes with the working. Yep. So next, shiny and sounds. Ven, did it shine or did it not sound?
Well, one would hope this would sound because this is all about the ouncing and the wubbing. We called it ouncing back in my day, I believe. Whatever. You know, kind of a fan in the 32 minutes that I did manage to play this. It's kind of like in 10-minute increments of like, don't crash, don't crack. Kind of digging the silhouette art style. I mean, it kind of works for what it is. Hell, one might even be bothered to say it's a bit of all right. The music, it's kind of what you make it. There's a lot of complaints that, you know, unless music nerds, unless it's in 4/4, don't fucking bother. Okay? It does a rubbish job of anything outside of in a 4/4 tempo. But, yeah, you can put any tunes in there that you want. I'm personally a huge fan of Banana Phone, but, you know, I like the art style. I mean, it's not fancy, but it's no worse or better than Speedrunners, so I can't give anything less than 3, even with my limited available experience.
Well, I did not like the built-in music at all. I love all varieties of electronic music, techno, whatever you want to call it, and this was the kind that rubs me the wrong way. The saving grace of this game is that if you don't like the music, you can just substitute in your own. And the same goes with the player avatar. At first I said, okay, I'm this girl running around sliding. Oh, Steam Workshop support. And within 2 minutes I was playing as Batman. And then 2 minutes after that I was playing as Goku. So go in the Steam Workshop. You can find any sort of ninja or, you know, frogs riding a unicycle, whatever you want. That's awesome. As far as the music goes, you gotta stick to beat heavy music. It doesn't like guitars. It doesn't like rock. It doesn't like metal. As long as you go with you know, like basically dance music instead of rock music, you'll be okay. But the beat detection does not do well with anything other than beat heavy music. Now, this would have been a 2-chair graphic and sound game, but between the Steam Workshop and the being able to substitute in your own tunes, I'm going to give it 3 chairs, even though I had to supply that last chair myself.
Yeah, I do like the simplicity in the graphics. It makes all of the relevant stuff clearer. What doesn't make it clearer is the moment the song you're playing gets a bit louder, your character starts going a bit faster, and everything becomes blurry. And also, if you're watching the currently produced version of the review, you'll see that the character looks similar to the 10th Doctor, Mr. David Tennant. And yeah. In any case, maybe it's just me and my astigmatism, but the fact of the matter is, if I spend more than 30 minutes at a time looking at this game, I get a nasty headache because of said blurriness. Sounds-wise, yeah, it has 7 songs built in and doesn't seem to be able to find the soundtracks you have installed from other Steam games automatically, which means the only way you can play it on a Steam box is by manually transferring the music to it or having to actually navigate to the games folder and playing the song from there. In 2016, that's bad. And I know it's possible for games to automatically find the locally stored music by hooking into the Steam Music API because AudioSurf, the first one, does it. So for me, it gets 2 chairs. And that rounds the total down to 2 chairs for shiny and sound. So let's get into controls. When did it control?
Well, I mean, where can you go wrong? Where can you go right with this? It works. I mean, it's like, we're using SDL2, and, you know, for the most part, it works. I didn't try rebinding anything. I was using the Xclone controller, and out of the box, it had the buttons mapped, and it was like, okay. And I played it with, you know, ABXY. the color ones, and I immediately realized in those 10-minute spurts before freezing my damn box that I'm not wired for this. I mean, I had to actually get in the groove and like zone out and go to a different place with bunny rabbits and chainsaws before I could like get everything right. I was overthinking the things. Didn't have the blurring issues that Pedro was talking about. The only thing I noticed, you know, especially when I was doing a good chain, more often than not, and maybe it could just be the Xclone controller, but it was repeatable in the brief instances that I could play this game before it hardlocked my box, was the A button. I miss it. Not that it really nopes you. It doesn't nope your experience. You just kind of trip and you lose your combo and all that. But it was like 4 or 5 times. And I was like, I nailed that. And it was like, no, you didn't. Anyway, I think the biggest detraction from this game is the force feedback did not work with my thrust turbo triangle racing wheel. So I can't really ding it a chair for that. But, you know, for that A button thing, and I could repeat it, I'll give it a solid 3.
Well, I had the exact opposite force feedback problem as Ven. When I would get on a good combo, my controller would just vibrate continuously, which was a little bit annoying. Now, this game has 2 different types of directional prompts. It has the arrow prompts, where if you don't hit them, you're going to crash and burn. And it also has just little, I don't know what you want to call them, beat blobby prompts that are to continue your combo. And at first, I mistakenly assumed that you had to do the arrow ones on the joystick and the blobby ones on the buttons. Once I figured out that you just use the ABXY, things got a lot easier. But like then, I am not wired for this type of game. My brain just could not keep up. It confused me and made me angry, and I crashed into a lot of things. Definitely noticed some slightly strange stuff going on with missing button presses too. I didn't check at the time if it was only happening on the A button, but there was definitely something a little bit off there sometimes. So I'm going to give this one 2 chairs.
Yeah, the timing is definitely weird. There's quite a few people complaining that the button presses aren't always in sync with the rhythm of the song you're playing through. And the human brain is one of those things that really likes patterns. So if the pattern set by the rhythm of the song is not in sync with the button presses, you're not going to have a good time. And all of the immersion that you've managed to gather up to this point is going right out the window. So you're either missing the buttons or you're not immersed, because you have to physically take yourself out of the experience in order to hit the button prompts correctly. It's a literal, this is pure conjecture on my end, but this looks like a literal drop-in FNA port. The controller support is there because it worked fine with both the Mistress right here and the Logitech F310 all the way over here.
For the people not watching, what is the Mistress?
The Mistress is my very own aerial controller. Big thanks again to Lockdown for kicking over the wet stinkies. Yes, I fondle the Mistress's aerial repeatedly. Feel free to take that out of context. Unfortunately, though, the way the game's algorithm interprets any given track is a crapshoot. Hell, if you play a track and then you go and find all of the cache and the configuration files for the game and you delete those and you play that very same track again, fresh, you will have a completely different level for the exact same song. So yeah, if you're trying to predict what's coming based on whether the song is coming to the chorus, well, you can forget about it. 2 chairs. And that rounds the total of the controls down to 2 chairs. So, fun, Ven. Did you have fun?
Oh, man, I had a blast with this game in 10 minutes. Did I mention it hard to open my box 3 times? Wait, I probably did. You're right. Rebooting the boxing of business over here, you know, every 10-minute simulator. really genuinely didn't live up to my expectations. And I'm not running anything strange. Granted, I'm not running glibcos 2.1. I'm just running Ubuntu 14.04.02 or whatever the hell the latest thing is with a fucking Nvidia 980. I mean, the most vanilla damn thing is like, you can't make it work on this. Now, then again, I do have a jacked up weird X-screen configuration, but for fun, yeah, 10-minute increments, I couldn't really say that because, you know, the game's currently 9.99 wet, stinky American freedom dollars. And why pay for that experience when I could just download Windows 10 for free? So, one chair.
Empty.
Yeah, playing this game was kind of a chore. I tried my utmost to get to an hour. I made it to 56 minutes, and I was like, okay, that's just enough. The two different types of button prompts are probably my biggest gripe. Why not just use the button letters or arrows, or just be consistent between the two types? You can put them in different places.
They should have used cartouches.
They could have done anything, and it probably would have worked better. But between that and the lackluster built-in audio and visuals, I didn't really have too much fun here. So one chair.
Yeah. One of the things that I will still address about the controls is that they could have made those prompts that are slightly pinkish, they could have made those slightly more reddish. So you would know that that's actually the B button, because the first few times that I was playing the game, it was like, what is pink? I don't know what pink is. But
a failed singer.
Fun. There's a reason other rhythm games, take your audio surfs, your Guitar Heroes, etc., have the button prompts coming at you from the front, quote unquote, as it were. Because when you put them off to the side and they're coming at you from the right, and you have to hit it at the exact same moment that they, you know, go through your character, as it were, everything, well, I'm going to use this word again, but it's a crapshoot. That's what it is. In Melody's Escape, said crapshoot is compounded by the blurriness, which I'm not able to turn it off. I tried lowering the graphical fidelity. It didn't do anything. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it's my eyes, but judging by the fact there are some other people on the Steam forums complaining, either they have astigmatism too or something's off here. This game also doesn't pick up on the audio files automatically, like I mentioned before, which means you'll have to search for them, and you're always going to have to navigate to those folders to find them again by hand, because it forgets whenever you close it. Really, the only positive thing that I can say about Melody's Escape is to echo what MT already said. It's that it has Steam Workshop integration for mods, but the only things you can mod are the character, for there is only one, the color scheme, and nothing else. Let's just say it's not going to save it. One chair. And that brings us to a nice round total of 2 chairs, because it did kind of work.
For the fun.
1 chair for the fun, yes. And the total is 2 chairs. So, final words, Ben, what you got?
Well, I know probably the developer's going to be watching this. It's like, why didn't you report the log file? Because your log file reported not. It reported Z. Nothing. And guess what? This is not LinuxQAcast yet. Shh. We didn't say that. Hush. But this is LinuxGameCast. We're not going to do you don't test in fucking production, Brad. And this game has had issues. It does have issues. Outside of what I've experienced, maybe I was an extremophile on the issues of, like, noping my box. Then again, you know, then we had Shadow Warrior, but that noped a lot of people's boxes. It does happen, unfortunately. However, fix your shit. I would like to play this. This is going to be an excellent Steam boxing game to sit back, relax, and just like derp to derp to derp. Empty.
Yeah, I don't know that I would really play this again. I could definitely see if the beat detection worked a little better and you could just sit in a chair and watch it go, it might be a little more fun. And there were some nice touches, like as the tempo increased, the camera kind of panned back so you could see ahead a little bit further to give you, some extra time. And, the workshop was fun. I had a laugh looking at all of the different mods that you could do for your character. But I don't know. I'm usually pretty decent at rhythm games, and this one gave me a really hard time. And I don't know. I don't have a suggestion that would like magically fix it. So I'm probably just going to try another game.
Yeah, I did sink like 2.6 hours into it, according to Steam.
Because you have all that ridiculous Necto music.
I had a lot of it, yes. But I played a lot of Audio Surf as well. I like rhythm games. I may not be really good at them, but I like them. They tickle the side of my brain that likes music, all kinds of music. And the fact that whenever I hit a button and the button was not in sync with the beat of the song, that threw me off completely. And it caused me to Alt F4 out of the game multiple times. And if I'm rage quitting out of your game and I'm not really looking forward to going back in, you done goofed. So yeah, give this one a miss, maybe. And that about wraps it up for the review. The CHAIRQUISITION is going away for another week. And up next, we will have some hate mail.
What? Yeah, that's right. You like to scream in our direction. We like to scream back in yours. And it's kind of awesome because it allows our enzymes to collaborate. And, if you want to send us a bit of hate mail, go to LinuxGameCast.com. Click on that contact button, select the show. We actually have 2 shows, by the way. I know it's terrible. We do another one. It's just basically Linuxy news. A lot less cussy than this. You could actually sit your down, kid. Oh, wow. That's... You see, I ran with it, and then I realized what I said, and I was like, that's bad, Ben. Sit down with
That's bad. Repeat yourself 3 times.
Sit down with your child organ, your larvae, if you will, and introduce them to Linux and all the amazing sauce. Fill out the form, do that, put an email in there, give it an effort because it does a relay check on the email address. So if you put herptoderp@herptoderp.com, it's just going to bounce and we're never going to see it. But once you do that, we'll get it. And more often than not, if we don't put it on the show, we will personally give you a response. But coming up first, esports.
Ooh, yes. So 8 Virtues had some things to say on the YouTube comment section. You can also get in touch with us like that. And he said the only way esports will work is if games with interesting and respected mechanics are used, have worthy/skilled players in a competition/meritocracy for rank and tournament wins, and game mods allowing godlike camera control for the new breed of cameraman that would be required to identify and cinematically focus on during a live broadcast. That was a run-on sentence. They'd need someone to switch between cameras and control the transition effects and decent technical and color commentary for the play-by-play. Fen, you do something similar to just about everything you described here.
Damn it. Now I got to read it. Focus on. Listen, the biggest issue with making esports a thing is going to sound, we're saying this very jokingly because we used to always say, why don't you interview more developers? Man, I was like, listen, man, everyone on this show is on the spectrum. So as a spectrum bro, it's kind of difficult to interview autism. Okay.
Hey man, you were the one that dropped the sit your down kids.
Hey man, I'm just fucking saying every single person on this show. Oh, I'm sorry, Frenchie, you're included. You're my brother. We're all a little bit on the spectrum, but
just a bit.
That's kind of the issue with a lot of gamers. I mean, you don't really have that talent. You don't have that whiz. You don't have that bang. You don't have the Shazam. Oh shit, somebody just turned into a giant monster. You have a lot of people clicking and doing shit and listening to the commentators. I mean, I try to watch it on Twitch, and They're kind of doing it wrong because they're applying sports ball style commentary to that when they should take a 10 strip while, riding a fucking roller coaster while watching the game in VR. Empty, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. It could work. It can't be the same as regular sports. I actually agree with 8 Virtues here on all the camera and the switching and the technical tools. The production needs to be there, but I don't know how you would do. You want PewDiePie on there just shrieking whenever something happens? You want I don't know how that was. I don't know how it's going to work.
Ton of subscribers. It's PewDiePie does get a shit ton of subscribers, so he must be doing something right when it comes to.
I remember the first time Pedro was like, "Hey, yeah, Pewdie." I was like, "What the fuck's a PewDiePie?" He's like, "This motherfucker better not have more subscribers." This is when we had 900 subscribers on the YouTube. By the way, you have a YouTube account, like it or not. If you have a Google account, go to youtube.com/subscribe. Just even if you don't use it, just do it. Help us out on that and like the videos. But I didn't know what the fuck a PewDiePie was. I was like, oh, maybe he has 2,000 subscribers. Then I clicked on it. It's like, the hell, man?
Yep. He is currently sitting pretty at 32 or 33 million. So, sure. Let's not have PewDiePie shrieking at doing the play-by-play commentary, but we can't really have the typical sports ball thing either. So, the camera thing is already sort of kind of worked on. If you ever watch someone play Dota, or if you go into the Dota spectator mode, or the Counter-Strike Global Offensive spectator mode, I've actually had some experience with that. It works really well, and it gives you all the information you need to see what's going on a play-by-play thing, and a good commentator knows that, okay, people are seeing the exact same thing you are, so you don't need to repeat yourself.
I think maybe one thing esports needs to consider is something that sports ball, especially a collegiate and professional hand egg, does, is they allow the users to control their own camera angles, which would translate into, I want to view this person, this person, this person, this person, and this person, and pick whatever they want in their own view, plus commentary. Empty, anything else?
Yeah, well, that would actually work really well if you could be, I'm Team Red, so just show me the Team Red stuff. Don't bother with the all the other, Team Blue, Team Purple, Team Chartreuse, whatever. It's a different form, and it's going to have to evolve. I don't think we can just slap the sports metaphor onto it and expect it to work. But conversely, I think it's coming.
And since I mentioned CS, go fuck yourself. Yep. Randomaski also dropped us a comment and said, I too am on the CS go fuck yourself bandwagon. Funnily enough, I'd play the game more if not for a rather annoying bug that I run into where the game will suddenly go from humming on my CPU at 50 to 60% to flooding each core. This wouldn't be a problem if my frame rate didn't go from about 140, 150 when VSync is off to about 3 FERPs. I'm hoping that is a side effect of switching to 64-bit. Might be that this is fixed, but I don't know enough about how that works to be sure. Well, it was already doing that before the 64-bit thing, and I think the most egregious example is actually Left 4 Dead 2, because whenever we first start, there's always those herky jerks and the mouse. The mouse feels really sticky.
I mean, I know, and it's not just empty shooting you in the back. That's not
which I'm doing.
No, that's part of it, but it's not just that. But they did have an issue a while back where the mouse sensitivity was basically doubled because it was poking the mouse twice to see where it was at. So if you moved it, it would actually move you twice as fast. It was kind of annoying. They did fix that a couple of months ago. And the new 64-bit build, like I mentioned last week, does seem to be... it seems to be a bit polarizing. Some people are having absolutely no issues. Others are saying, the performance is better now. And others are like, my performance just went to shit.
I don't know, man. Answer me this, riddle me this, if you will, Pedro. Because I mean, I bought CS:GO and I went to mention. I was like, wow, don't have enough time for this. Fun game, absolutely fun game, but yeah, it was like, woo, that's a time sink. Saving it for the home, as we like to say over here. But I have a lot of people. I mean, just from like Windows is like, well, on Windows I get 200 FERPs, and on Linux I only get 198 FERPs, and it's unplayable.
Yeah, because it's one of those shooters that is very picky, especially the mouse sensitivity thing is a big thing. And the way that they do it...
Do you think it's actually perceived, or...
It's perceived in a way, and I'm guessing having the FERPs counter at the bottom is not helping. There's definitely a psychological factor at work here. But yeah, if on Windows the game is rendering 300 frames per second and on Linux is rendering just under 200, it's going to be an issue because input delay is very much a thing. And when you're trying to play on a competitive level, because Counter-Strike Global Offensive does have that competitive element to it, it's noticeable. If you're playing that game for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, you're going to notice it. It's one of those things that is inevitable. I personally don't notice it, and I'm semi-competent at Counter-Strike Global Offensive, but I'm sure that if I was one of those people that actually played the game and nothing else throughout the entire day, I would probably notice like input delay or something not working the way it was supposed to. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. From my point of view, it's fine. And at least in my category, whenever I go into a ranked match, I'm usually either top rank or number 2 at worst. So I don't know.
Well, that sounds legit. Empty, why don't you explain to us why you're a fanboy?
I am a fanboy of CSGO, no doubt. All right, fanboyism. You know, guys, I'm no Intel fanboy, but I at least get the names and SKUs right in the notes, for fuck's sake. Skylake has Iris only in Skull Canyon Nook right now, and Broadwell Gin Iris is the 5775C, not the 58XX and above, which might be Haswell E.
Who'd that come from?
Thank you, Monster Cam. I know all about computers, and I did not understand a word of that.
So this is a bit from what we were talking about last week about the Intel processors. And both me and Jordan were kind of going back and forth, and we got a bunch of stuff wrong. And Monster Cameron is right on the money. For once, I cannot say that you're factually incorrect about anything. Yeah, he was actually right on the money. The 5775C is the quote-unquote cheapest desktop CPU you can get with an Intel Iris Pro. The 5800 series are, in fact, Haswell E, not Broadwell. And the Skylake Intel Nook, which he mentioned that it's the Skull Canyon one. Yes, that one does have Iris Pro as well. So that's it.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, honestly, when you and Jordan were like making out with each other, you know, honestly, I just stayed out of the conversation because I wouldn't know, because I've never in my entire life, Organ, purchased an Intel desktop CPU. Why? Because I'm OG. I'm a real AMD fanboy. Yeah. And on that bombshell, let's cue the music, because you'd always find us around 9:30 Eastern Standard Moon Time. Fuck the Eastern Standard. Just type in time, Athens, Georgia. When it says 9:30, do the conversion. You're a smart person because you already know how to Google. It's brilliant. Join us. I'm Ben Stone. On the Twitter nuts. You want to scream at me in that? That's kind of cool. Also on the G pluses, I do a lot there. Plus Ben Stone. Scream at me there, and I'll get back with you.
I am Pedro Mateus. You can call me Plage Moroso, if you will. Or not, I don't really care. You
Bitch.
can always find me at unaccounted4 on Twitter or Plus with Mateus on Google Plus.
And I am Bizarro Jordan, Mike Tehan. You can find me not on Twitter at The Real Leprechaun, but you can find me on G Plus at Plus Mike Tehan.
So, what we learn at the end of the day is, you know, we're all AMD fanboys because, Team 8150.
Woo!
Team 1100T.
Team FX8370E, bitch.
Oh, God, you just love Nvidia, but I have an Intel processor, and that's different somehow.
Oh, I've had that argument before.
I was like, seriously? You know, I've been 3 decades of not buying Intel processors, and oh, right. Oh, you're the AMD fanboy. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
You're adorable. Would you like some cake?
How about
The cake is a
pat on the
lie.
head?
Here, I'll
pat
give
on
you a
the
glass
head?
of shut the hell up to go with it.
Here's
Delicious,
a glass full of
delicious.
shut your mouth.
5 dudes.